All right. Well, good morning, Tanya. It's
What's up, Drew?
aloha, and it's good to see you. Good to be with you. Um, before this, before we started recording, we were just talking and thought, it'd be interesting to kind of share with everyone what kind of the things that we're going through. I've been on vacation for the past 9 days, going on 10. We'll come back home tomorrow. Well, right now I'm in a lobby, so my family's officially on Hawaiian time. So if you hear any noises, that's what's going on.
Kudos to you, Drew, for handling the podcast while on vacay. You wouldn't even be able to tell that you're kind of out of your geographical element, but I think you've done pretty well.
Yeah, I know, I know. I don't know if you can see the tan lines. My wife was making fun of me because I don't wear sunglasses. And so we're out on the beach and I'm squinting the whole time. And then when we came home, we can see the tan lines from the from my eye line wrinkles.
I'm glad you guys took the R&R though.
Yeah.
You're not missing anything. You're coming home to tons of snow.
So I've heard.
Yeah, more snow.
How much snow have you gotten?
I mean, it's been raining and snowing, nothing really sticking until today. So maybe you'll have a blanket of snow on your driveway when you come home
Oh my God.
tomorrow.
Oh my God. I know I took my truck and I parked the truck over at the airport.
Oh, good.
We'll see if I have to dig it out or not.
Yeah, good. Yeah. I mean, we need the moisture, so no complaints.
Yeah. Oh, that's cool. So I shared with you I ran into a mission buddy here at the resort. So I'm at the Marriott Colina,
Uh-huh.
and it was fun to catch up with him. And this place is awesome. So if you got a family, I think I shared with you. I kind of went on so there's like this walkway that goes along the shore across a lot of the different properties. There's this one, and then there's like a privately owned condos down the walkway, and then past that is the Aulani, the Disney resort,
Yeah.
and then at the end of that is the Four Seasons. But along that way, there's like four lagoons, and it's like these coves, and it's really nice if you got younger children. There's like no waves, like at all.
Nice. Uh-huh.
Yeah, and you can go paddle boarding or just chill there with your kayaks or whatever. It's perfect, and it's
I told you you kind of sold me on this. I'm heading, I think I'm going to end up going to my brother's graduation this year, April there.
yeah.
So I definitely need to check this out.
If you're going to come to this island, is he at BYU Hawaii?
He's at BYU Hawaii.
Oh, okay, so it's on the other side of the island, but I think it's worth the commute. We did the commute yesterday, and I would definitely.
Wasn't bad.
On the way back, it was in Haleiwa, the North Shore. I guess that was really popular yesterday. They had this surfing competition, and
Oh, yeah.
so it's like maybe that's what it was. The waves are humongous,
Huh.
but closer to BYU Hawaii and Lae, we went to Pounders Beach, and on that side of the island, it seemed pretty mellow. So it was good for the kids.
That's awesome. I think I cut you off. You were explaining about the different coves and lagoons that they have.
Oh yeah, so here there's no waves, and I've got a
Oh, so it's kid
one year
friendly.
old, but like it's perfect. I don't sunbathe. It might look like I got a little bit of sun, but I usually hide underneath the towel. But for those people who like to sunbathe and just relax on the beach, it's perfect. But at this resort, man, it's crazy. Every day my daughter memorizes the schedule. They've got like 4 or 5 different activities at different times of the day that all the kids can go to. Like tea leaves, they can braid their own like wristbands, or like they do little hakus, so lace or flowers on their head. And
That's awesome.
yeah, I
Yeah,
love.
I definitely will have to check it out. You've convinced me. Kid friendly vacays. If it's not kid friendly, it's not a vacay for mom and dad.
Yeah, and it's your kids are a little older, so they can babysit themselves. Send them to the activities, and you and Thani can just go relax on the beach. Or they've got these pools here. They've got 3 different pools. One for just the kids, like a little, I don't know, it's like a foot or two deep, with their own hot tub for the kids. Then there's this adult only pool, and then they have this one that's for everybody. It has like a water slide there. They've got waterfalls, and it's awesome.
That's awesome, Drew. Should host your next stay.
I know. I almost feel like I should be like the spokesman for Marriott. Like, come here, come here.
I know you've spoken so highly of your experience, so, and I know a lot of it is because we have kids. You're speaking from that angle, so I definitely
Yeah,
got to check it out.
I know, because my buddy, no, I work for Delta as well, and I was telling, my buddy's always asking like, oh, how's Europe? How's Japan? 'Cause we're going to Japan in end of March uh, to Disneyland.
Yeah.
I've never done that, but I've been to Japan a few times. And he's asking about like Switzerland and all these other places. And honestly, this is my favorite place for my family.
Really? Of all of
Yeah,
the places?
yeah,
Cool. Good to know.
I know. Yeah. Anyways, I feel a little spoiled here.
Well, I'm glad you've had some R&R. Welcome back to snow and the grind when you get back tomorrow.
I know. I think my wife's been checking the weather, and she's been sharing with me. I just ignore it. I'm just like in my own little cocoon over here.
Yeah, totally. Well, nothing new here. Still just enjoying my teeth. Not gonna lie, I think I've just really been paying so much more attention to my my habits.
Oh, sweet.
My nighttime routine feels a little bit longer, but it's I think just having that emergency appointment really kind of humbled me to be a lot better with my hygiene, my nighttime habits. Um, Something, I guess since we're talking about, being that this is a dental podcast, my kids, I think timing the 2 minutes of full teeth brushing time, yeah, that was a huge adjustment for my kids, to have them all kind of be aware of how long 2 minutes actually is of toothbrush time. Is a
It is
long
long.
time for them
It is a
because
long.
yeah. That's what we've been working on here, but that's kind of our update.
What's interesting is when you're in the chair. Sorry, there's. Can you hear that?
A little bit,
Okay. Yeah,
not too bad.
that's just the cleaning people with their car. But what's interesting when you're in the dental clinic, you can tell if someone is right-handed or left-handed by the health of their teeth in which quadrant.
Ah, okay.
And so and I bring that up because when you're brushing your teeth, yes, 2 minutes is a good rule, but also splitting it into quadrants where 30 seconds in your upper right, 30 seconds in your upper left, 30 seconds in your bottom left, and 30 seconds in your bottom right. So that's kind of what I do. I kind of go into whatever, right to left.
That's good insight. My fancy toothbrush has the timer on it.
Oh, nice. Yeah.
So it's yeah, and so it's so nice to actually be able to see, the time and just kind of be mindful of the different areas that need attention.
Hmm.
Even has like the different settings for gum care, whitening,
Oh, nice.
tongue. Yeah. And so I think just kind of it's been super helpful to kind of track what needs to be done in your mouth and what
Yeah.
doesn't. Yeah, my husband like cracks up now because I'm just like, okay, guys, like move to your tongue, move to your, yeah. But it's so important,
Hey, look at
for just
you.
good habits. Yeah, emergencies always tend to kind of humble me and course correct.
A little
So totally, totally.
it's funny because there's a little bit of a joke in the clinic, when the assistant asks you, so how's your brushing and your flossing, as they're
Yeah,
cleaning. They already know the answer, but
yeah.
they kind of want, it's kind of like a trick to see if you're honest with yourself or not.
Totally. Yeah. No, it's been good. My oldest is getting ready. I think he's getting new braces. So we're kind of starting that assessment. Didn't realize just the like process. My older brother, he's maybe around almost 40. He had braces for, I swear, what seemed like forever. He had a lot of teeth and a small mouth, so he had to do some teeth extraction. And then his
Wow.
braces, I swear he had braces for like a good maybe 4 to 6 years. It was forever. I'm finding now that it's like a little bit different. That kids, it's not as long of a process. They start them kind of early, get their mouth used to it, and then um, there's like a gap in between. Like they take them off and then end up getting them, a little bit later. That's something new. I had no idea that was the process.
I know.
It's evolved in such
Yeah,
a great way.
technology is always evolving and
Yeah,
getting better. That's
yeah,
well, good for your son.
yeah. Teeth updates over here.
That's awesome. And I shared with you what braces had done for me. Like my confidence just went all the way up. So that's neat. How old is he? Is he in
He
middle
is
school?
9.
Oh, he's in 9. Oh, wow.
Yeah, he's 9. So it's funny that you say that about the confidence. When I was filling out my patient forms, that's something that was different. Was they had a section of the some of their questions were about my confidence with my smile. Like rate your confidence with
Ah,
your smile. When you smile, do you smile with your mouth open? Do you smile with your it was interesting. I've never thought to answer those questions, and I've honestly just never thought about it. Um, anyway,
for me, it would always be like a kind of,
yeah.
and or like I said before, I would turn my face so that the camera's shooting from the left, from my left
Hmm.
hand side, and yeah, just those little things I was always self-conscious about. But good for your son.
Well, your teeth look great, Drew.
Thank you. I know. Yeah, I am in favor of orthodontics if they need it, and the outcomes is worth it. And it is cumbersome, and it is, when every time you eat, you always have to worry about something being stuck in your tooth. But you get used to it.
Totally. It's funny. As we were kind of talking about just different current events, what's in the news right now for dentists,
Yeah.
what I thought was super cool to see, post COVID, we know that it was kind of that we had we know what we experienced on the medical side with our family, with our loved ones, but it kind of really put that emphasis on healthcare workers and the importance, the role that they play in just our basic needs and necessities. I was reading, in terms of dental updates, current events, the dentists are ranked, now one of the top 10 jobs for U.S. jobs. Um, just seeing kind of this rotation of this focus on basic needs, basic health post COVID. Thought it was pretty neat to see that translate to the dental profession.
I I'm happy for dentists, and I'm happy for the industry. Uh, I would wonder what dentists would say, if they were to read that article. Um, you know, I chose the field that I chose, and there are days that I wrestle with the idea, right? Right. Am I doing the right thing being in healthcare administration? And perhaps that's why I got 2 degrees, one in healthcare administration, one in public health, uh,
Hmm.
because I love providing solutions for problems, solving problems, but I also love working with people. Um, and I didn't feel like, yes, they're both in healthcare, and yes, they do work with people. Sorry, it's a really popular time for the people to clean their rooms. Like,
Oh, you're fine. We can still hear you coming through.
and I'd be curious to know what dentists would have to say. Are they happy with with the career field that they're in?
Hmm.
Did you see? if they had surveyed people within the field, or if they had surveyed people outside of the field, if it, is that based on perception, or if that's based on experience? I
I think it was more so just like a um, purely kind of observation of where's the best um, profession to land. You know, before I think the year prior, dentists were ranked 47 in top profession. I think they're looking at things like job security, income, even work life balance. So all of these things is contributing to this being a really good profession to choose. But from 47 to 10, I do think a lot of that is kind of post COVID. They're seeing some shifts to the emphasis on the healthcare industry. When you have to also think when you're looking at different market shifts, right? Um, when you're kind of in a pullback phase or in a recession, oftentimes defense, basic need companies, areas of the industry are where there's security. So it kind of wasn't a shock in the sense that things are kind of pulling back a little bit. We are expecting, you're seeing a lot of layoffs, especially in the tech industry. So I think all of that kind of is playing a role in this shift post COVID, even more favorable, right? The
Yeah.
emphasis on the needs for healthcare workers. I think all of that is setting up nicely for those that are considering a career in the dental profession.
Yeah, that's awesome. And I as you were talking, it kind of reminded me, perhaps I have some bias because of the type of dentist that I'm working with. Not all of
Hmm.
them are in the most healthy practice, right? They're a lot of them are experiencing burnout.
Hmm.
For instance, there's a dentist that I'm talking with right now who's practicing in Utah, but 7 years, and I guess he returned back to Utah right before COVID. But for 7 years prior to that, he was practicing in Alaska, and prior to that, he had his practice for maybe 20 years. So he's been
Hmm.
practicing for quite a while. And so after 20 years or so, he was completely burned out and wasn't seeing the results out of his practice. And so he left to Alaska, where the reimbursements are higher and there's other, federal subsidies and different benefits for practicing in Alaska. Was able to get his mind clear. You know, he got that financial relief and felt strong enough to return back to Utah, where
Gotcha.
where he's from. So anecdotally, I guess it'd be interesting to see, or I think that's where my bias is coming from,
Gotcha.
in my perception of reality.
When you say burnout, is it burnout with the business side of things, too many patients, doing things that they don't enjoy? And, I imagine like, as we talked, that dentists are really good dentists. They're great healthcare providers, but maybe could use help on the business side of things, business management, which is kind of why you have your why. When you're saying burnout, where is the majority of their time being spent?
Yeah, they felt that they were working in, well, I had diagnosed the problem as they were working in the business and not on the business. And so
Yeah,
there's constantly some administrative things that he should have delegated to his manager, to his office manager. But and what I saw the office manager perceive the office manager as, and I feel like this happens a lot, is that the dentist will promote their most experienced dental assistant and pay them more money and expect them to all make the transition from an assistant in the chair to working as a manager. And
gotcha,
that didn't happen for him. And unfortunately, that happens quite a bit.
gotcha.
And uh, so he sold the practice and left to Alaska. And then he came back and approached the new owner, and now they're partners in the practice again. So I feel that I do feel for these dentists. They're working so hard, spending, they're working in the chair. He was working from 8 to 5, And then he could go home, spend some, an hour or two with his family, and then return back to, processing payrolls, reviewing client or
Gotcha.
claims, and denied claims, and all those things. So it's just nonstop, and he didn't have the systems in place that would, that his
Help him,
manager
right?
could have done for him. So
That's really good insight.
yeah. But as you were talking, it's great that it's in the top 10 now for uh, jobs, but perhaps not all dentists are
We're
feel the
fine.
same way, and
Gotcha.
feel that they're in the top 10 industry, a top 10 job. That's awesome. Also saw the article from the FTC, the Federal Trading Commission, on passing that non-compete bill, and I think it's still in the proposal phase.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and it hasn't quite been passed. And they saw that it was a benefit for employees to leverage, increase in pay. Um, as we're seeing in here in the recession, it's kind of the prices has gone up, and
Mm-hmm.
what the CPI report that came out and that we just reviewed last week Friday. The cost of supplies, the cost of living has all increased, and yet the wages have not increased to match it, right? The cost of homes. I think you're in the market for looking for another property. So I guess this would be a response from the government, to help employees leverage up a higher salary.
Right.
Is that something that you saw as well?
Yeah, I did. I'm familiar with non-competes in the financial services for industry. If an advisor, when they sign a contract, typically it's common for them to sign a non-compete for X amount of years should they decide to leave their firm. I knew a financial advisor used to work for a well-established RIA, ended up leaving there to a smaller one and had signed a non-compete. And so when they moved, firms was not able to bring any of their clients over, nor were they able, well, because their prior firm owned kind of his book of business, but also wasn't able to reach out to any of his clients when he transferred. So he had to start from scratch. And so in that first year for him was a grind. Um, yeah, he became a good friend, and kind of just seeing where he is now. Thankfully, he's doing so much better. But I can definitely see how not having a non-compete would have helped him transition, for sure. Because I think when I talked to him, when he was explaining how his first year meant, he made zero income, right? With as a father, as sole provider. So and thinking of that, I'm not quite sure how it works in the dental profession. Like if they are, if they signed similar contracts when they're signing on to maybe a partnership, but how does that work?
Um,
Or how have you seen it work?
well, I guess I haven't seen it.
Mm,
So I'm unsure how it would impact uh, this yet dental field. Uh,
gotcha.
I guess similar case. We all have we have our patient panel, and I guess you just changed providers, right? And there
Yes,
was nothing that you signed that prevented you from changing providers.
that's a good point.
And so
Right.
I don't I guess I don't see how it impacts the field of dentistry too much.
Gotcha.
Still
Good to
interesting
know.
that is out there. Um, there's
Yeah.
also the non-disclosure, right? The NDA, the non-disclosure agreement, uh,
Uh-huh.
preventing you from sharing, I guess I was going to say intellectual property, and, or whatever your your SOP, your standard operating procedures.
Do dentists sign similar agreements?
No, but as in a practice, you're trying to create a brand, right? There's there, if you had your practice, perhaps you could say we do it the Tanya way, right? Or we do it the Andrew way, where and then you infuse it with your ethos or with your mission, right? To provide the best care, and this is how we do it.
Hmm.
And if you were to take that process and transplant it into a different practice, perhaps it could work. But the personalities within that office are different, so it wouldn't translate 100% over. I think that would be stretching it,
Gotcha.
but just trying to think of a way that it would be impactful for a dental practice.
Gotcha.
Um, there, I guess going back to this idea of promoting your most experienced dental assistant, their relationship, because they were a dental assistant in the practice, they had these existing relationships where it was colleagues, right? Coworker to coworker. And now because of the promotion, the dynamic has changed because now her previous colleagues are now reporting to her. And so now she has to hold them accountable. But there isn't a procedure in place, and what does accountability look like? What does it look like when you're consistently late to work, and now you need to be the one saying, "Hey, we're this is impacting the practice. This is impacting our performance, and it's not just you, but everyone else on the team." But there's no standing procedure for what that looks like. What how so taking that experience and putting it into a different practice, there's just so much variance with it. It'd be hard to translate it over, if, if that makes sense.
Yeah, definitely. No, I I think that's excuse me. Such great insight. I'm not a dentist. I've never worked in a dental practice. Excuse me, but I definitely think I can relate to, as your employees are, sorry, excuse me, as your employees are developing and mastering these skill sets and are ready for kind of the next thing, trusting them with more and leveraging them more to do more, right? I think also including your employees in building the type of culture, systems, and processes that you're hoping to have them implement,
Right.
because they are going to be the ones that have to follow through and execute, right? You are one person. I think at times, I definitely see kind of what you're saying, how that transfer could be difficult. But I also think, this is a good time for dentists to start building their brand, their culture, what makes them them, and why would someone want to come and build a career for themselves there, right? Taking into consideration that people, your staff, as they start to meet your metrics and are ready for more responsibilities, giving them the trust to kind of go and do, keeping them informed of kind of their hope and their vision as a dentist, but then trusting their team to go and execute. I think is sound business practice, regardless of kind of the profession, right?
Yeah.
Might be personal opinion, but I definitely can understand and see what you're talking about.
I think it would reduce frustration, right? As an employer, as the dentist, you get frustrated with, man, why isn't the manager doing this? Or, I just promoted this assistant, and yet I feel like my workload hasn't changed, right? Because they haven't been able to delegate over responsibilities, right? And they haven't made it clear what does it mean to be a manager. These are the roles that you should assume now that I've promoted you.
Yeah, it's definitely that, Drew, if I can pop in. I think transparency is so important as you're building, especially a small practice, a small company.
Right.
That transparency is so important from employer to employee, to have this open communication of proper expectations. What do I need as employee? What are you expecting of me, right? To go and do. And here maybe is what I need from you as kind of overseeing management to make this happen. Um,
It would be frustrating as a newly promoted manager that now my boss, who we used to get along great as an assistant, now he's really frustrated at me. Frustrated at me. He's really short. He has a, you know, he's showing me some attitude that we never had before, right? It's
hmm,
because things have changed, and that would be frustrating as the employee from the employee side, and as well as the employer as the dentist. But laying, just laying out clear expectations of what that role is and what that looks like, um, hopefully would go a long way. I think it would go a long, that would have gone a long way for that dentist who went to Alaska and had returned, because that's what had happened to him
gotcha.
with that employee. Uh, yeah, I I think for me that's one of the things that are exciting for me. Moving from a healthcare um, background, healthcare setting, working within a hospital and a health network, is that because we're so big, you need buy-in from so many different stakeholders,
Mm,
different leaders. If we're going to make one decision, I need buy-in from 30 people. And it can be really frustrating because it moves so slow, right?
right.
All 30 people are at different stages in their own responsibilities, their own projects, their own departments. And so getting buy-in from all 30 leaders is really, uh, really the bane. And
Mm,
but within a private practice, you really need the buy-in of one, or it depends on the model of your practice. If it's just one owner, or if it's in a partnership, it's just a handful of people and your office manager or your leaders. You make a decision and right away you can implement change. And I think that's where the real opportunity comes within a practice, is that you can see immediate change and
mm,
immediate correction.
right. The smaller the practice, I mean, I think the smaller the practice, the smaller the company. As you're scaling and growing, not that many hoops to jump through. Um, I think, you kind of made the point of a dental assistant that's progressing, hiring them, if, eventually as that office manager. What I love about that model also is the empathy that that dental assistant has, that experience that they've kind of acquired as they've gone through the different steps matters. They're technically trained, they can understand things on that level, but then also, have maybe that experience of working alongside colleagues to be able to kind of have maybe that human element, right, that comes with managing the team and helping the team move forward on the operations side to help execute the goals so that the dentist can do what the dentist is great at, which is upfront and close with the patient. um, a really great insight, and honestly kind of very lots of repeating principles that transition to kind of just other types of business models, so that's pretty neat to see.
I I love it. And that's what gets me excited, is that when you're in such a small practice, perhaps as a dentist, you might think it's big because it's your entire world, right? Um, but when you're comparing it in context, it's small, and it change can happen a lot faster than what a dentist might think it would take. Um, let's see, we're kind of getting closer to the
Yeah,
top of the hour. I think it's been a nice episode, nice visit, good current events catch up. We'll just continue the discussion next week.
that sounds good. Thank
Thanks, Doc.
you.